Hey everybody, it's Pete A. Turner, executive producer and host of the Break It Down Show. Today's episode, by the way, happy Boxing Day to everybody. Today's episode features Dr. Rob Gioia, and Dr. Rob is interesting for several reasons. One, he's a dentist and has been a dentist for quite some time. Realizing that dentistry wasn't fulfilling him, he decided to go back to medical school and become a family practice doctor. And that is pretty incredible because that's a whole lot of schooling. What Rob does in addition to that, and you should check out his Instagram, it's DDS2DO, doctor, like dentist to doctor, DDS2DO. And you will see a hyper fit guy who actually trains with our co-host today, Pete Koch. And you guys all know Pete Koch, former NFL player, played for the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Raiders. He's been co-hosting with me for, well over a year now. We've done, well over a dozen episodes together. And anytime I get a chance to have an episode with Pete, I just love it. He's become a friend and someone that I value his time, and I love sharing these experiences with him. And since we're in the post-holiday season, we've feasted a couple of times with Thanksgiving and Hanukkah and Christmas and all of that. It seemed like it was time to kind of recenter our brains on fitness and health and what we can do, and if we ask Pete, when should I start working out? He's like, best answer was 20 years ago, but now instead, right now, today, don't wait till the first, get moving every day. And there's a number of things that come up in this episode that really highlight that, like just getting out and running a mile, getting out and walking once a day. All these things start to have an immediate impact. And then as you get better at doing that one thing, you add one bigger thing. So as we all try to progress and get better at life and try to find time for everything that we have to do, oh my goodness, it's so hard. I agree. Maybe this will provide you with some new inspiration and some new vim and vigor. It's the end of the year. People are doing their end of the year giving. It is the week of the year when the most people do their most giving. That's what the stats say. So I am asking you, please consider Save the Brave, savethebrave.org. All you got to do is go to the donate tab and do what you know how to do. It's a really big help. We are going to put this money to work. You've heard me talking about it. You know what I do. You know that Scott does, and Nick Velez and all of the folks over there at Save the Brave. We're really honored if you consider us. If you're not sure what to do and you want to give to somebody else, may I recommend Charity on Top? Charity on Top is a way to give charity as a gift to someone else. And we do a lot of episodes with them. You can look up Kathy and Marshall. You will find their episodes. We have one coming up. But by just simply going to CharityOnTop.org, you can send someone a gift card full of charity dollars that they can then redeem. And all of a sudden, presto changeo, that charity gets a little bit of money that they never expected to come from it. And your friend gets to do something that they love to do. So Charity on Top. Hey, listen, I love you guys. The shirts are out. Make sure you get them. That sale will close in about a week. Get yourself a couple of Break It Down Show shirts or hoodies. I'm going to get some stickers and hats made in January. So hang in there for that as well. As always, love you guys. Take care. Have a great new year and happy Kwanzaa. It starts today. Here's Rob Gioia.
Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proops.
This is Jordan Harbinger.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This is
East.
Sebastian Younger.
This is Rick Marotta.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
Hey, this is Skunk Baxter.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
This is Rob Gioia, and you're listening to the Break It Down Show.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
Yeah, the Pete's coming at you, Pete and Pete. Pete Koch said to Pete Turner, that's me, he said, hey, we got to get my buddy Dr. Rob on this show. He's one of my clients, and he is a monster. You guys should check him out, DDS2Do on Instagram, and you will see why Dr. Rob barely ever wears a shirt. He is in super shape. I'm going to kick it over to Pete Koch and let him go from there.
Fortuitously, I met Dr. Rob Gioia. He reached out to me for some assistance with my online personal training. And, I think we struck up a friendship over the last year and a half. And he is such a remarkable man that I thought he would be a great guest. It's been my pleasure to get to know him, and just to brag on him just a little bit. And just to repeat how you find him on Instagram is DDS, the numeral 2, and then DO. And that's dentist to doctor. right? So in his case, a family medicine doctor. So that's his handle, which is clever. It speaks to exactly what he is. Rob Gioia is a dentist and was a practicing dentist for a long, long time, and then decided he wanted to be a doctor, went back to school, and he's a family medicine doctor. And he's also incredibly fit and absolutely, and I've been telling him this, that I think that he ought to, and I know he's trying to, sort of trying to do, I want to unpack this, but he's a fitness leader. He's a fitness and health and wellness leader, which we could certainly use more of on the family doctor side of things. So thank you for taking your time, Rob. How are you?
Oh, good. Thanks, Pete. And I just want to kind of follow in your footsteps and say, I did meet Pete Koch through email, and I reached out to him for some personal training, and I had used a couple other people, but Pete's the only one who really listened to me and was able to come up with efficient workouts that were not hours in the gym, and I was able to get results with probably less training than I normally had done with other people. So I appreciated that, as I was a resident at the time. So I was working like 60 to 80 hours a week. And so I continued to use Pete every now and then.
I appreciate that. I really do. And it's given us a chance to get to know each other over the phone. We've never met in person, but I'd like to just kind of do a quick, but an overview so folks can know this whole thing started for you in Canada, right? You're Canadian. And just tell me a little bit about two things. Because here's what I just quickly unpack, or don't be so quick, because I find it quite interesting. Because in this world, more times than not, somebody's either more of a jock or they're more of a scientist. And the two don't really cross paths very often. But you were a kid, I think, interested in sports, and I think at some level in athletics, but also tell me about, I suppose at some point you were bitten by like the chemistry bug, right? And how did those formative years, like through high school, how did that work out for you?
Yeah, I think so. I was always a short kid. So eighth grade, like 13, I was 4'7", maybe 90 pounds.
Wow.
And I'm from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. So it's a big hockey city. And, my dad didn't want me to play hockey because I was so small and thought I'd get hurt. So I was a gymnast for about 7 years. And that's how I got interested in basically strength training and like fitness. But I was always pretty good in school. So I enjoyed science and stuff like that. So I never really thought of doing anything other than the medical profession.
Hey, this is Pete A. Turner from the Break It Down Show, checking in real quick to ask you this. John, Scott, and I all support Save the Brave with our time, our location, our effort, and our money. Each month we give a small amount. Do the same with us. Go to savethebrave.org, click on the Donate tab, pick an amount that you want to come out each month, and they will handle all the rest. I stand behind these folks. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the show.
I never really thought of doing anything other than the medical profession. So first, dentistry I thought would be a better fit for me. But after 10 years of doing that, I felt like I could help people with their health better through family medicine. And I could use my, love for fitness and weight training and nutrition better with a medicine background.
So did you go to undergrad in Canada?
Yeah, I did my undergraduate in London, Ontario, called Western University now. And was there for about 4 years. And then I moved to Milwaukee to do their dental program at Marquette. And then I ended up at Michigan State for medical school.
Got it. And where were you that decade where you were simply practicing dentistry? Where was that? Where were you?
Yeah, I was split at a few places. I did a year in Milwaukee, and then I moved back to Canada, Sault Ste. Marie, for about 8 years, and then back to London, Ontario for, the final year when I knew I was going to go back to medical school. So I had sold my practice and just worked for somebody temporarily in London.
And what was required of you to get into medical? I mean, you had to get into medical school. Just because you have a dental degree doesn't mean they're just going to let you into their school, right? So did you go and study for the MCATs and do that the normal route?
You're exactly right, Pete. I had to do the MCAT. I didn't have to take any of the prerequisite courses because I had them all from dental school, but I still had to do the MCAT. And that was actually a pretty big barrier because I was out of school for 15 years already. So I had a pretty average score, but Michigan State, I went to their osteopathic medicine program. So they kind of saw the big picture of who I was and, gave me a chance. So yeah.
So that was it. That's all you needed was one medical school to say, come on, right? And you were on
right.
your way.
Yep.
But can we back up a touch, though? I mean, it's one thing to say, I thought I could help people more as a family practice doctor. But when you approach the people around you that, help you make decisions, and maybe you make your own decision, but that's crazy. You already have this great career. You've already gone through a challenging medical program. How do you get so motivated or so uncomfortable that you can... This is not a small leap. It's hard.
Yeah, you're right. And I guess I should back up a little bit. But so back in, I think I was around 32 years old, I was kind of getting out of shape and just started to get more interested in fitness and started running. And I, did one of those Beachbody programs, P90X, and got in a little better shape. In the meantime, I was reading a little bit and came across this book. And I'll plug my friend, but it's called Better Than Steroids. His name's Dr. Warren Willie, and he's a DO. And I kind of reached out to him like I did with Pete over email and ended up going to visit his practice out in Pocatello, Idaho. It's a little city in southeast Idaho. And he was giving me some lectures like how he would train physicians for weight loss and preventive medicine. And after the first day, he's like, oh, you should be a DO. And I'm like, I can't do that. I'm already 34 years old. But I always thought about that. And then in the next few months when I got back, I'm like, he's right. I think I'm more suited to do something like that. And I knew I could do it. I was pretty good with didactic and school type stuff. But it was more of getting the funding and loans again, which was a little bit of a barrier. But I figured that it would be worth it in the end. And so far, it's been pretty good to me. So
And from that point, when you finished medical school or were you thinking from the beginning that you wanted to practice general medicine, which I know is really where you can meet the most people and I think have the most impact? Was that the plan all along?
Yeah, the plan all along was to do family medicine. And then through your third or fourth year training, you do rotations through all different specialties. So you'll do a month in anesthesia, a month in urology or whatever. And I had interviewed for a few spots of internal medicine, which is basically like family medicine, a little bit different. But I always felt that the programs where I got along with the people and were the family medicine programs. So that's how I decided to take that path. And just for the audience, the way medical students pick their specialty is they apply to a bunch of different programs, and then in January, they make a list of hospitals or programs they want to go to, and then the hospitals make a list. So it's kind of like a matching game, and then you just end up where your match list kind of matches the hospital list. So it's quite the ordeal.
And that's how you ended up, I think when I first met you, that's how you ended up in Pennsylvania?
Right, yeah. I ended up in York, Pennsylvania, small city in south central Pennsylvania, but it's pretty close to Philadelphia and Baltimore, so it has a lot of bigger cities around it.
Mm-hmm. Were you required, I suppose, maybe not so much legally, but by your schedule, as you were going through medical school and then after all that, your residency, were you practicing any dentistry?
No, I wasn't. I maintain a license in dentistry in actually the state of Wisconsin. I maintain it, but I haven't practiced dentistry for about 8 years now.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It would have been too hard, to study and continue to work.
One thing I before we sort of move off the medical side of things, though, is I remember a reading or something that you have historically done some charitable, taken your dental skill to other countries and done some like pro bono dentistry. Is that right?
Yeah, that was last year through our medical residency. They do a couple of trips to Guatemala to do medicine, and they didn't have a dentist for this particular trip, and they typically did have one, so I volunteered to do the dental portion of it. And actually, it was a lot of fun. It was pretty rewarding, too, because the patients are immediately gratified when you take out a tooth that hurts for them and fix something that's broken. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I mean, was there any anxiety because you hadn't practiced in some years?
Yeah, I think so, a little bit. But once I got started with the first few people, it was like riding a bicycle. So
that is a great story. I love that story. And you could do the doctoring at the same time. But no, that's I love that story. At what point along this path that took you up to just last year did you really, I don't know, maybe it was starting in high school, but when did you really embrace strength training? And folks, go ahead and take a look at Dr. Gioia on his Instagram page, and you can see the kind of fantastic condition is. This is a family medicine doctor that's in his 40s, and he's leading from the front. And when did you really start to embrace the strength training?
yeah, I started weightlifting when I was 14 at just the local YMCA. And probably like most people who are into weightlifting bought those muscle mags. And some of the people I looked up to were like Mike Menser, and we were talking about the other day, Dave Draper, all these people that lifted heavy and were pretty massive and strong. So throughout, I guess it'll be like 30 years now coming up, I've been in the gym and probably doing more or less strength training, but with variation. And you're helping me with that, kind of get things changed up and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been 30 years I've been in the gym. So
early adopter, and it you never stopped.
Yeah,
that's the important thing. I get emails all the time from people that say, "Hey, I saw you working out on social media, and I'm your age." And they always say, "Boy, I used to be so fit, and I played this or that in college, and I kept on, and I was working out into my 30s, and then some fill-in excuse, I got married, I got divorced, whatever, and I hadn't worked out for 15 years, and I, feel like I'm lost. Like, can you help me?" The answer is, yeah, I can help you, but it's a little bit like that question is, if somebody says, an adult says, "Hey, when's the best time for me to start working out?"
Oh boy!
Again, this is someone who's out of shape and not working out. When's the best time?
Yeah, basically.
The best time
working out
is today,
right?
Right.
Right.
But I go a little bit more. If I can be a little bit snarky, and they're 45, and I could say the best time to have started working out was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But since that didn't happen, and we haven't invented a time machine yet, the answer is today. Right.
That's a big note, though. I mean, you have to have always carved out that time out of your schedule. You guys do that. It's part of what you do. You don't have a 24-hour day. You have a 23-hour day because you're always going to work out. And as a middle-aged guy, it gets tough to keep up with life and do this. But, this is the second show we've done today with people talking about, getting our bodies back together and taking care of the system, whether you're, bringing in peptides or epigenetics or any of these things. It's a whole system. And if you want to keep moving, and heck, Pete, you've talked about this quite a bit. You want to keep moving past the age 60, you've got to do something. And then there's no human that doesn't have a significant life event from 55 to 62. Like everybody has some kind of, redefined of what being alive is and a significant scare.
Yeah. Whether it's mental health or something with their own physical well-being, I agree with you. And like Pete said, life happens and they stop working out, but life happens for everybody. So whether, going back to medical school and studying 12 hours a day, you still have to make time for yourself if you want to be able to do the things you want to do and age gracefully.
My friend Pete Turner's heard me speak of him, Dr. Robert Heisinger. And they call him Dr. H, and he's a doctor of some renown, and he's a internal medicine doc here in Beverly Hills. I played for the Los Angeles Raiders, and the Oakland Raiders. For those that don't follow football that closely, they were the Oakland Raiders for decades. Then they moved to, in the 80s and 90s, they moved to Los Angeles, and then they went back to Oakland. Well, during that span in the late 80s, I played for the Los Angeles Raiders with Howie Long and Marcus Allen and those guys. And Dr. Robert Huizinga was the team doctor. And he's very fit himself. And he went to Michigan undergrad, and he was an All-American wrestler at Michigan. And he continues to be very, very fit. He's in his 60s now. And one of the things that I've learned from him, I've learned a great deal about physical fitness and weight loss and managing these things. And he says that he can't explain it, but he feels like when he works out for an hour, he gets an extra hour of productivity out of his day. Does the math add up? Not exactly. But then on the days that he doesn't work out, he feels like he gets less production from his day. So it's the damnedest thing, but it's a very powerful point that animates him to make sure that he does get up, and he's got that in he doesn't wait for the time to work out. It's in his schedule. I could tell you, because I've worked out with him and I know him so well, I could tell you his schedule and tell you when he works out, but it doesn't matter. How he makes it work in his life doesn't matter. In the time of day that I work out, it might be of some interest to people, but the fact is you have to make it work for yourself. And that includes all the social implications, the motivational implications. In my case, I can tell people that what's very helpful to me is having a training partner that I train with probably 70% of the time. And it makes a difference to me. But it's hard to find a training partner. That means you need to be on each other's schedules. But again, not to take it such a deep dive into the social part of it, but figure out what works for you. That includes what type of gym you like, what type of exercise you like, but find something that resonates with you, makes you feel good, and go ahead, put it in your schedule, and now you're on your way. And if you're a little bit lucky, you'll be like Dr. Huizinga, who says, this makes me feel like it literally makes me more productive. Does that resonate with you, Doc?
Yeah, it does, exactly, like 100%. And, even working out through medical school, I would find, and I was driving 20 minutes to the gym because I lived in Detroit and there was no real gyms in that area. And I would drive to like a suburb, 20 minutes. So even 20 minutes there, 40 minutes at the gym, 20 minutes back, kind of losing an hour and 20 minutes in travel and stuff. But way I could focus and study when I got back was, much better than if I would have just stayed at home and did whatever. So I agree 100%. And I can't remember the name of the book right now, but there is a book where there was a school teacher that had his kids run I think it was a mile in the morning before class, and found that they had better school performance and stuff like that. So
there's for sure. There's a lot of. In fact, I have that book. I just can't walk away.
I know. I can't remember it.
And the doctor that wrote that did a lot of research on the reaction it's sort of not only a chemical, but there's also sort of a gene switching reaction in the brain that's in kids especially, but grown-ups too, that's caused by exercise. I'm a CrossFit coach, and I used to own a CrossFit gym, and however you feel about CrossFit, one of the very smart things that Greg Glassman, the founder of CrossFit, did was he became an early adopter to how important exercise was with kids, and he was getting in lockstep with the scientists that were showing through studies that kids who exercised, it had a powerful physiological influence on their brains, and it made them study better. So there's a program within CrossFit, a sub program that some of the CrossFit gyms, not all, offer, and it's called CrossFit Kids. And these are specially certified CrossFit coaches that teach. And many of these schools, I will tell you that they not only teach kids how to exercise safely. And for example, if they're real young kids, like 5, 6, 7, the class might be only 20 minutes. It's just so you know, they're not putting adult CrossFit workouts onto kids. It's not that at all. It's very carefully sort of modified according to their age and ability. There's actually some CrossFit gyms out there that have a study hall attached to it, where kids can exercise,
Oh, yeah.
come there after school, get exercise, and then stay. The parents pay a fee, and then they stay and they have a supervised place to study at the gym. And the kids are thriving when they do this. I think it's brilliant.
That's a great idea. And actually, the name of the book is Spark.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm picturing the
John
yellow
Ray.
and white
Yeah,
cover.
and the orange. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very good. Spark.
Hey, Rob, I want to ask, so one thing is as a dentist who's now a doctor, how does that inform your practice? Like in my mind, when you say open up and say, you're like, no. God. Like, as you look at the teeth, but does there some other way that one informs the other? And then two, as a family practice guy, I know you give out good advice, but what have you learned about getting advice that's actually, when they come back, the next visit, they're like, oh man, I put it to work and now I've changed my life.
Yeah. For your first question about how being a dentist prior affects me being a doctor, not so much when I do an oral exam, because I do look at everyone's mouths, but if people come in with headaches or ear pain, or I feel like I have a broader differential of what the problem could be. And just the other day, I noticed somebody had new fillings and they were having ear pain, and, their ears look normal, but I'm like, have you had the bite checked? And she's like, no. And so I sent her back to the dentist to get the bite checked, because that can cause ear pain and jaw pain and some of the stuff she was talking about. So even with headaches too, if someone has had problems grinding their teeth or recent dental work, it can definitely cause headaches. So that's how I guess I could answer your first question. And then the second question.
Hey, this is Pete A. Turner from Lions Rock Productions. We create podcasts around here. And if you, your brand, or your company want to figure out how to do a podcast, just talk to me. I'll give you the advice on the right gear, the best plan, and show you how to take a podcast that makes sense for you, that's sustainable, that's scalable, and fun. Hit me up at pete@breakitdownshow.com. Let me help. I want to hear about it.
And then the second question, unfortunately, given our time constraints, that part of my process is probably minimal, but I do ask patients what they think they can do to change their life, or what they think they can do for exercise in terms of goal setting, especially patients with diabetes or wanting to lose weight. That's a huge component of their transformation to getting healthier. And a lot of the times you really just have to find out what their goal is or what they would like to see change about them, and then kind of help them pick one thing they think they can do that will help. And then having them come back frequently to see how they're doing will help them stay on track. Also, I try to stay in good shape, partly so my patients can see that, it can be done. And, leading by example, I always think is a good way to go about doing things.
Doc, what about social media? And I love the fact that you're posting there, and I'm hoping that people will take a moment, if you're on Instagram, to go and follow you and pay attention to what you're doing and be inspired by it. Is this something that you're hoping to build on? It feels like, and I've said this to you, that there's a place for you absolutely where you can be a leader, that rare individual that's a doctor that can take care of you, but the incredible power of the medicine of exercise and proper nutrition is something that you want to physically show people the result of it and the work you put in on your own body. Is this something you're looking to sort of increase your platform?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, social media nowadays has opened the doors to meeting so many new people. I mean, that's how I met you. I think I saw a couple of your Making You Better 30 Seconds at a Time videos and Breaking It Down with Pete Koch. And that's how I ended up kind of not really meeting you, but knowing what you were about before I emailed you. So if I could do that with Instagram, that's great. And, I truly believe that exercise is the best medicine. It's the most cost-effective medicine. If you YouTube 23 and a half hours, there's a Canadian physician, Dr. Mike Evans. He does a little whiteboard drawing. It's about 14 minutes long. And he cites studies about how medicine helps with all these, ailments, depression, heart disease, high blood pressure, even studies. There was a study in Japan that people who walked, I think it was 12 minutes a day, their blood pressure improved. And even people who exercise but are still overweight, they still have better health outcomes. So definitely I would like to build upon that. I definitely think adding more medicine to somebody's, certain medicines are essential for people, but medicine on top of medicine, I think exercise and proper nutrition can help take care of a lot of things medicines can.
I love it. I mean, I can read as many articles like crazy that state the things that you've just stated. But in fact, I'm just looking in my email folder right now because what I ended up doing is emailing myself things that I see. And here it is. I can say here, I found an article that said, and this is pretty obvious, but it's interesting because it was a large study done, and they just had sedentary people just walk one day a week and measured here, even running. I'm sorry, this was actually running, even running just one. There was Yahoo News, even just running one time a week can significantly lower your risk of death. So it's going to, even one time a week will enhance or I'll let you phrase it properly, improve your things like your lipid profile, your blood profile, has the potential to have an impact on your resting heart rate and blood pressure. These things that are important biomarkers that a doctor like you, this is the sort of the nuts and bolts of how you're gauging someone's health, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. And absolutely, like you were saying, exercise has been shown to improve the HDL, which is the good cholesterol or protective cholesterol. So a lot of my counseling, if someone comes in with a lower HDL, is to start exercising or increase their amount of exercising.
Hey, Doc, when you're on Instagram and you're seeing Pete Koch doing all the things he's doing, and look, here's the thing for everybody listening. First off, go check out Pete's videos because they're inspirational. And it's not just Pete throwing around Olympic weights. He's hiking. He's doing push-ups. He's like, there's a zillion things he's doing. What moves you, Doc, to grab the computer and talk to Pete Koch and say, I need some of what you got? I mean, you're already in fantastic shape. What do you see with what he does that inspires you to change what you're doing, even by a little bit?
Well, even with what I see and what I've just been talking to him, you can see that he has a true passion for this. And even just through emails, he's always reading and trying to find research and talking to people in the field and trying to, just improve his already great knowledge of the subject of exercise and nutrition. And you're right, his videos are inspirational. So I love watching them, and then I love getting my advice from him. Plus, he actually listened. If you send him an email and tell him I only have a half an hour a day in the gym and it's all I can do, he just sent me a new workout plan, and I did try 2 of them. I'm going to start next week to do it, but I finished in a half an hour exactly, and I felt great. So, I think he really listens to you and he knows what he's talking about.
Well, I appreciate that. I've learned the hard way because I've been at this a long time that it's simple to write a program that's got bunches of fancy, sexy exercises using medicine balls and jump ropes and dumbbells and bands and all this great, sexy stuff that we see on fitness experts using or alleged experts using on social media, but to organize it in such a way and condense it so that a real working person with a real job can get that done in a time frame that in your case, you quoted to me as being 30 minutes. That's a little bit of a trick. So I appreciate you pointing that out to me because that wasn't something that came naturally to me. I just, at the beginning, used to write all kinds of and think, boy, aren't I a fancy trainer? Look at all these sexy exercises I told you to do. It's not a practical way to accomplish anything. In fact, it's a disaster. So I appreciate that. And as we get a little bit closer to the end of this conversation, Doc, when we were talking last week, I kind of, tongue in cheek, I said to you, I was saying, gosh, I really admire the things that you accomplished. If you become a dentist or a doctor, you're pretty much a rock star. We kind of lump in lawyers and kind of maybe an engineer, and we kind of lump them together. And as a society, we say, "Wow, that person is really, really, really accomplished. That's really special." But you've done two of these things right at the top of everybody's list. And I was kind of teasing you, and I said, "Well, what's next? Come on." What's next?
Yeah.
And you said, well, I'm just in this, I work at this one hospital and I'm I got to deal with them. And I love it, but we're committed to each other for, I don't know, maybe I think it's 2 years, whatever it was that you said. And then, but I'm already thinking about it. And I was like, whoa, hold it a second. But I didn't seize it. But you were like, you're already thinking what's next. And I don't know how, I don't want to get too, deep into your personal business, because I was saying this to Pete Turner before you got on and joined us in the conversation. And I said, who the hell knows with this guy? He might decide he wants to be an architect and go back to school and design hospitals. I mean, I don't know but I'll ask you, well, what are you thinking? What would you like to share?
I'm not going to go back to school to be an architect or anything else for that matter, but I do.
All right.
But I really like where I'm working right now. I like the office I'm based out of, but I still want to expand my knowledge more on the strength training. There's the CS certification, which I'll do probably in the next 6 months or so.
Yeah, I've got that.
And then just, focus more on kind of the same things you're focusing on, health and through exercise and nutrition. There's other courses like through A4M, and it's called functional medicine, and that's basically more along the lines. And some of your other, physician friends that you talk to have had that training, and more on like health optimization rather than, we see a lot of times in the U.S. it's kind of reactive medicine. When somebody's sick, you have to, you're trying to help them get better, whereas, this functional medicine is more preventing the illness in the first place. So I think that's the direction I'd like to take my practice and knowledge base towards.
That makes perfect sense to me. And I'll add this in case you didn't know, but the NSCA, there's a lot of acronyms for folks that don't know, but the National Strength and Conditioning Association, their highest credential is called the CSCS, which is a Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist. I am certified through them. If you're ever watching an NFL game or Major League Baseball, they all have strength coaches, as you could imagine. And they're all basically CSCS, because that's the highest credential. And that might be good, but I'll mention this to you. I don't know if you knew this, but I'm also a CrossFit level 1 coach. And the CrossFit program a few years ago introduced a program where you could be certified to become a level 1 coach, but it's got a special educational protocol, and it's like an exclusive club. Only medical doctors, MDs and DOs, are allowed to go through this program, and it's a special bit of education and certification and the idea was, and I could direct you to a podcast where Greg Glassman talks to a world-class, there's this woman, I'm blanking on her name, was Julie Fouché. Just a quick little history in CrossFit. Julie Fouché was probably a little bit off her game right now, but 8 years ago, she was the number two in the world, the number 2 CrossFitter in the world. In other words, the second fittest. She came in second at the CrossFit Games.
Wow.
And she was in medical school when she competed in the games. And the training is unbelievable. And she was in medical school. Well, since then, she's graduated, and she's a family medicine doctor now. And she's like in her early 30s. She's in Ohio. And Julie Fouché also has a podcast. And recently I was listening to her, and she was interviewing Greg Glassman, and they were unpacking a little bit of this special CrossFit level 1 coaching certification expressly and exclusively for medical doctors. So you might be interested in checking that out.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And just to further kind of expand upon that, last weekend I was just in Lancaster, Pennsylvania for a family medicine kind of like education series. And they had Introduction to CrossFit as part of one of their seminars in the morning. So I think it's starting to catch on as being, well, definitely a medical exercise is medicine. So
yep.
I've done CrossFit a little bit. I think it's a great way I'm all about efficiency in the gym. So it's a good way to get an efficient workout and then move on with the rest of your life. So
good. Well, I like the way you're thinking into, just to pile on some more education, but of all the major certifying bodies on that educate fitness pros like me, out of all of them, this is And CrossFit's a little bit, I understand, on the outside looking in compared to some of these bigger educational companies, because CrossFit because there are something like 16,000 CrossFit gyms, and because people look at them like, it looks a little weird and a little dangerous. But the fact is, as far as I know, they're the only certifying an education company that's embraced the idea of certifying people in the medical community specifically at their level of education. I think it's brilliant, because I've been blessed to have my doctor being Rob Huizinga. I live here in Los Angeles, so he's always been my doctor, and he's a friend. But I'm very fortunate to have a doctor that is leading from the front. And if he ever had a problem, Rob, I want you to be my doctor, because when that, I don't even know how many people exactly understand the magnitude. This is my judgment, the magnitude of a medical doctor who is coupled that with the discipline and know-how to create an outstanding level of physical fitness within their own organism, their own self. And that's an impressive thing. And that's an elite club, and you're in it. And that's a powerful signal that you send out to the entire world.
Yeah. And Rob, let me say to you too, that as we're lauding you with all of these things, I mean, you're an inspiration too. I mean, obviously Pete works hard at getting folks to get up and get moving, but so do you. And all of us out here who aren't doing it, and most of us aren't, we need folks like you guys to encourage us that, hey, now is the time to start. Walking once a week is a certainly an attainable goal, and you build from there. I mean, it's one thing to look at, either of you guys with your shirts off and go, God damn, I'll never get there. But that isn't the point. The point is the journey, building that discipline, getting in the gym every day, eating better, doing whatever you can to take care of your organism. It all starts with the beginning and some stick-to-itiveness, and we'll all find our own level of fitness and health. And heck, I'm doing my best to do it through swimming and trying to eat better, but I get it. It's a slog. It's hard, but guys like you are the ones that make it possible. And I just, from all of us out here, I appreciate you doing what you do to keep us online. Heck, the both of you. I appreciate both you guys.
Appreciate you, Pete Turner.
Yeah, and thanks. And you said it right, exactly. Like, you just need to do what's good for you. Do your best at trying to move every day and eat a little better. And once you start seeing some results, it'll just build upon itself, and you'll get into a routine that works for you.
I like it.
No, I mean, I was just going to say, Doc, I think that was just like a perfect way to wrap up an hour. That's been really a pleasure for me to unpack some of these questions that I've had since I've known you, and to have, kind of have people put a voice behind the man, that I wish that they would look for you on Instagram at DDS2DO, dentist to doctor. So great. Or just find Rob Gioia, Gioia, Rob Gioia on LinkedIn, and just become a part of your family and spread the word. I believe it was Stephen Covey, one of those money manager guys that went to Harvard. Who am I trying to think of? And several years ago, it was the bald-headed guy went to Peter, or maybe it was Peter Drucker, one of those guys, and he said the three most important people an adult is going to take through their lives. I mean, if you want to live a real grown-up life, the three most important people are a medical doctor, an accountant / wealth management person, and a mechanic, an auto mechanic. The third one is the one that makes you smile and you go, oh yeah, boy, I wish I knew a really good mechanic instead of, God, how much did I just pay for that, that gas filter, whatever. But listen, a medical doctor is number one, and to align yourself with one because we're in this for the rest of our lives. That's a powerful thing, and good for you for all that you've put into yourself. You've paid it into yourself to be the best doctor you can be. Much respect.
Thanks a lot, Pete.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.